Our Navy SEALs was coming. I was like, I don't know about that. And she's like, well, you already told me.
Okay. 8. All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and call our special meeting to order. And what we'll do is we'll start with general public comment if there's anyone wishing to address the board. Seeing no movement, I'll close public comment and start with administration regarding the county attorney position.
Good morning. For the record, Michael Manning, Innovation, Resiliency, and Performance Division Director. This morning, you will receive an update from S. Renee Narlock and Associates regarding the second outreach effort for the county attorney position. With that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Renee Narlock.
Good morning.
Thank you, Michael. Morning, Madam Chair and board members. I am giving you an update on our county attorney search, just to let you know where we are and what's transpired since we last met. As you know, we had 3 candidates the last time that we had moved forward. Those candidates withdrew from our process, and we were directed by the board to go out and recruit additional candidates. What you have now is a short list of candidates who applied. I'm going to say the second go around. There's, I believe, 9 candidates total. As you'll see, there are some candidates who applied first time around that reapplied. I did have candidates reach out to me and ask what they should do if they were still interested, and I encouraged them to reapply. That said, there weren't as many new candidates on this list as I had anticipated or wanted, but I do want to mention a particular candidate that did apply, Michael Mortel. Michael, again, did not apply last time, and I did do a preliminary interview with Michael, and just to give you a quick overview of that, as you know, I think you have access to all these applications. Michael served as the city attorney for the city of Stuart from around 2013 to 2023, at which time he was named the city manager in 2023, and he separated from the city, I believe, in October of this year. So he is no longer employed by the city. Again, those first few years that he worked as the attorney, as you know, the city of Stuart has a lot of the similar challenges that St. Lucie County has in the way of a lot of growth management, a lot of contracts, a lot of land use, things that come before them also and did during that time period especially. So there's some similarities there as far as the specialty of the city attorney's office in Stuart. That said, I did a preliminary with Michael, and I do think that he's a very solid candidate as far as his experience is concerned. I think it's very similar to what you have, and I think he's a solid attorney. I don't have any doubts about that. I think what it would take is to figure out whether he's a good fit for you as a board. This is your hire. You make this decision. There would, definitely need to be an interview if, in fact, you were to consider him further. And I think that interview would be, that would be what you would need in order to determine whether you think he's the right fit for the organization or not. We had a couple of other candidates that I just didn't really feel like met what we were looking for in the way of experience and complexity, quite frankly, at St. Lucie County. So with that said, the only person that I wanted to speak with you about this morning that applied for the position the second time that I did not have in the first group is Michael Mortel. That said, I would also like to just say that I have heard rumblings that we have interest from the interim county attorney, Catherine Barberi, and I can just share with you from a recruitment standpoint that I did have a couple of conversations with Catherine throughout the last 60 to 90 days, and I find her to be very solid. I think you know that she's worked for the county for a very long time in the county attorney's office under your prior county attorney as a deputy, and I think she's very solid. If in fact she is an option for the board, I can just tell you from my interactions with her, I feel like she's a very solid candidate. That said, as far as, can we do this? Can we talk about Catherine? Can we consider Catherine? Yes, you can as a board. You can do that. Basically, you would be just making the decision to reject the candidates that we have based on just a matter of you don't feel like they're the right fit or you're not interested in them as board members. And then make the decision that you would want to appoint Catherine. So I wanted to mention that to you real quick in case that's a topic of discussion that you'll have today. With that said, are there any questions or anything else that you need from me?
Thanks, Renee. Questions for Renee? No? All right. I'm getting no questions.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Renee. We appreciate all the time and effort that went into this.
Thank you.
Okay, so discussion. What are the thoughts from the board as to how they would like to move forward? Do we want to consider another firm, go out nationwide? Do we want to enter into discussions with interim county attorney Barbieri? What are the thoughts?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Townsend?
I feel safe in saying I think the board's made a decision. However, out of respect, I think that we have a process and we have a policy. So I think that we do need to, or at least for me, I would like to have more conversations with Ms. Barbieri. And there are also, I would like to have a conversation with 2 other that have submitted applications. Also, to be fair about this, because of policy, we know her resume. I mean, she's amazing. She's done a good job. But I would like for her to officially submit a resume to the consultant so that in moving forward, you know how our constituents can sometimes be a little cantankerous. So to make it totally official, I would like for her to submit her resume so that it has been submitted in with the other 8 or 9 people that have submitted. And then that way nobody can say anything that we just did stuff from within inside, which we have every right to do as commissioners. But I just think in order to keep the consistency, put the application in, she's one of the applicants, we can say that we've interviewed her with whoever else we want to interview. So for me, I would like to see that happen. And then I would also like to interview the new applicant, Mr. Morrell. And I'd also like to have an interview with Mr. John Anastasia. I think out of the 3 of those, I feel confident that we have our new county attorney. So I don't know where the rest of you sit. However, to be respectful to the rest of my board, I will go along with whatever the decision of the majority of the board decides today.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Lee?
I would have to concur with everything that Commissioner Townsend has said. We do have a process in place that I think we need to fulfill, and I agree. I think we should take the time to do that. I think, you know, like she had said, we're sort of have our own mindset already, but I think we do owe the process to be completed and to keep our minds open and to finish it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lee. Anyone else? And actually, Clerk Miller, not to put you on the spot, do you have any comments or thoughts, given that your office works very closely with ours?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, I would just say that Ms. Barbieri has been very efficient in her tasks with my office, very responsive. She's worked with me for 5 years now, and previous administration as well. I enjoy the working relationship with Ms. Barbieri. Sorry, I almost called her Catherine. And I, you know, I'm happy to go with whatever direction the board chooses, but I do enjoy my working relationship with her.
Thank you, I appreciate it. You know, I've gone, gone through the new applicants that applied this time. Obviously, there were some repeats in there. And, you know, quite frankly, I'm not seeing the future, you know, in my humble opinion, I'm not seeing the future county attorney in that stack. As far as the process, we know we're the board. So the process is in terms of hiring our one of 2 employees that we do get to hire and fire. It's sort of, you know, up to us as to what that process looks like. I don't have a problem if the majority is wanting Ms. Barbieri to officially, you know, submit her resume. That being said, you know, I originally, as some of us did, when we knew that Mr. McIntyre was retiring, I immediately obviously asked, you know, the most logical person under him, knowing Catherine Miss Barbieri, has been here a very long time. I myself, when I was still on the private side of things, worked with her in her capacity as assistant county attorney. And I can tell you that she is a powerhouse. She obviously didn't indicate that she was for it at first. Now that some time has gone by, obviously we know she's indicated that she is. As someone for 20 years that's hired and unfortunately fired people, you always look for that excitement, that enthusiasm as a new employee, right? Because quite frankly, anyone that has managed people knows you start the best you're kind of going to be, right? Your enthusiasm, your outlook, your attitude, your demeanor. And if you're sort of not at 150% at the start, I'm already kind of looking down the road and thinking, what am I going to get out of that person if they're not really giving me much at the beginning? So as we went into this process, and then Catherine indicated that she was, interested, it gave me pause, because I never want to, I always want the person that really wants it, right? That's hungry for it. And so that did give me a little pause. After thinking about it, I always try to relate things to, right, my life, or things that are very easy to put together. And so for years before this, I was the number 2 at Tri-County. You always had the boss, but I was second in charge. I was calling the shots. I was doing the day-to-day. Never just wanting to be that number 1, because I was comfortable in the number 2 role, not that just doing the work and not being in the spotlight, essentially. And so, quite frankly, I think Ms. Barbieri was a victim of my same type of mentality of, do I want that spotlight? It's not that, can she do it? 100% she can do it. 200% she can do it. It's, does she want this magnifying glass? Does she want to, put herself up to this? And so I'm fully comfortable with moving forward after having some discussions with Catherine, knowing how long she's looking, to kind of stay, what her future plans are. One thing I will say is, again, depending on how we go, but one thing that's going to be non-negotiable for me is that we need to be able, in 5 to 7 years, have at least 1 or 2 people within our legal side that would be capable of then applying when the time came for a county attorney. Not saying we need to go with them, but that is something that I'll be looking for, is someone that she takes under her wing that could potentially step up in some time. So a little long-winded, but I haven't really, last time it came up, I didn't really share, so those are my thoughts.
Madam Chair.
Any other, Commissioner Clausby?
Going along with that light of, just to comment on kind of what I'm hearing, the reluctant leader is always, in my mind, one of the better of them. And I don't fault her for not wanting to do it at first, because obviously, like you're saying, there's more. You're entering the realm of being kind of more at the will of the board. And, I actually, at this point, is there any way we can get a clarification on, just that way everybody's an understanding, specifically those that are listening, as far as what the rules and procedures are of the board? What latitude do we have to throw out the process and direct hire who we'd like? Is that legal? These sorts of things? Because I think that we got to do a better job at the board. We all kind of know the process and what we're saying, but just that way those that are listening, if we could maybe just explain a little bit better as to what the parameters are of this process and that sort of thing.
So, Madam Chair, Commissioners, as the discretion of the board, when this opportunity came about, you had many paths you could go. You could appoint an interim person and have them go for a period of time, and then move forward with a permanent offer to that person if the board chose. You could hire a consulting firm, go out and do a search, and run through that process. And then with that, if it came back somebody of value, you can go that way. If not, it could reaffirm your interim internal, appointment, and that person would technically not need to actually have to apply to the consultant and go through that process. Under Florida statute, you get the two positions, and you can either appoint them, you can direct hire, you have many different latitudes in how you want to go about doing this. So it's more or less what is the will of the board and the direction of the board and how you want to do it. And I think that's kind of been what the information's been shared amongst the 5 years is you had to have this process. The consultant's on too, and she can reference it as well. In her experience, I'm sure that she's experienced both ways, where they've done a search and then they've still picked an internal without going through that. You see it many different ways. So I think really what it comes down to is what is the will of the board, and that's you get that discretion and that that decision-making process.
And, I wanted to make sure that we've got that on the record, that should we choose to promote, because I think it's a promotion, it's not necessarily a hiring. She already works for the department. I'm interested always in succession planning, like was mentioned. And, I'd be very comfortable moving in that direction.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Lowry, sorry.
I'm completely comfortable moving forward with Catherine as our next county attorney. I think she's done an incredible job. However, if it's the will of the board to interview so that we all feel completely comfortable with the decision, I could, move that direction as well. So, but Catherine is definitely my number one. I think she's done an amazing job. She has a good relationship and rapport with staff, and be a very smooth transition.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Lee.
if we chose to proceed with the process, what does that look like? Time frame, and do we have a public interview? Is that just one-on-one with each commissioner?
So, Madam Chair, Commissioners, that would be the will of the board. If you chose to go the route of interviewing, then you'd have to determine the candidates that you want to interview, and then the consultant can work with you on a schedule to do that and figure that out, which would probably push you into December timeframe for those interviews, and then we would have to schedule another meeting to come back and do so. Whether you do a public meeting, public interview, that's in attorney roles, that's not as common as it is in the role that I sit in, but you would do one-on-one interviews, and then you could do a public interview if you just chose, or you could do your one-on-one interviews and then come together as a board and have that conversation and make your decision. So that would be your call, but I would assume that the consultant, and she can weigh in, but I think that she would want to have ample time to let the folks that you determine you want to interview, if that's the way, time to prepare and then a scheduling, because it's not like they can show up tomorrow and do it.
Okay. All right, so we know Commissioner Townsend wants to do at least 2 additional interviews. Commissioner Lee, you are the same, is that correct?
I would like to see the process move forward as expeditially as possible.
Okay, and Commissioner Clasby, are you interested in, I'm just trying to see, because it sounds like everyone just kind of said their point, but then said whatever everyone else wants to do, so I'm just trying to see what the majority is. Is there anyone that you want to interview, or do you want to just move forward with Ms. Barbieri?
I'd be comfortable moving forward with Ms. Barbieri.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Lowry?
Same here.
Okay. And quite frankly, I think there are a lot of good attorneys on that list, by all means. Again, just knowing all the balls in the air, the balls that have yet to get thrown up in the air that are right there, everything that we have going on, it's good to have someone in here that already has the historical, that already knows. This way we can just keep moving forward, right? We have an airline that, an airport we're trying to push forward. There's all these things. And so because of timing, because of all those things, I too would support at this time just moving forward and seeing if we can come to a consensus on Ms. Barbieri.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Thompson?
I think we have come to a consensus. And so I'm happy to make the motion that we hire Catherine. You got a secondary job too, Catherine. Right now you have 2 roles to play. I was just I'm trying to follow the process to be fair, and as you go through this journey being a commissioner, y'all will understand years from now that out of respect for the community and out of respect for the constituents, because you know that we are accused of a lot of things, I wanted the process to move forward so that we could say that we left no stone unturned. Like I stated in the beginning, I think we know where we all stand, and I concur. There is worth in having somebody that's been here for a long time. She knows what Dan knows, and Catherine has done a great job. So I don't think we need to belittle this or push it along any further, so I'm happy to make the motion that Ms. Barbieri is our new county attorney.
Second. Madam Chair, sorry to interrupt, but I think you'd have to make a motion to enter into a negotiations
Right,
for
the
a contract
contract,
for that, and then you'd have to deem it to be HR and administration to work with that, and then we would come back to you all with those parameters, and then we'd bring back in a contract for your review and approval.
And I think we knew that you had to enter the contract and everything. This was just to make the motion that we are accepting her to move forward into that position.
Absolutely. All right, so there's a motion. Commissioner Clasby seconded it. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Ms. Barbieri.
Thank you. I look forward to contributing.
And with that, I'll bring it to Commissioner comments. I do have one quick thing. I don't know, and I know sometimes some of these emails go into spam, but the governor released an email, I think it was yesterday, or maybe the afternoon of the day before, and he is giving the state employees off some additional days, November 26th, December 26th, and January 2nd. Sort of following up to your comments you
support
made
this.
about
I think
staff
staff
is,
deserves
I
every day
think,
off they get.
I
Absolutely.
think
More the
we should
merrier.
support this and give the team 3 extra days off to celebrate with their
Absolutely.
family, rest, do all the things.
Merry Christmas.
I think they deserve it.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. You are much nicer than I, so.
We know, no.
And Madam Chair, I have one request as well. So moving forward and having a new county attorney, there are some things in housekeeping that I would like to see. As you know, most recently, there was an error done through an email. Those of you that know me know that I struggle with computers. So I have asked, moving forward, the legal and anybody that I've been in contact with to not be copied in an email with the rest of you. I think that is where we get into trouble. So I'm letting y'all know that moving forward, if you have anything to do and you want to copy somebody, please do not include me in that email. I think that the county attorney, hopefully Catherine, moving forward would agree that when staff is, I know that it's easier for them to just hit send all to send us that and our aides, but in moving forward, I'm going to ask staff to please not copy me with any other commissioner, to contact my office directly, please. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Commissioner Clasby.
I couldn't agree more with Commissioner Townsend on that, but I would ask that in addition to that, maybe if they are sending it to all of us at the beginning of it, just mention that this was sent to all county commissioners. That way we know it's not just to us, that it was sent to everybody. Would maybe help with that too.
Okay,
Other than that, I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving.
likewise. All right, anything from anyone else? No? All right, fantastic. Thanks for hanging in there with us this morning. Have a great rest of your day, guys.